YouTube scams and grifts are unfortunately in full swing. Fiverr is out to replace its freelancers with AI, and Grok 3 will uncover the secrets of the universe for the low, low price of $40 a month. This is the Act 18 Show. Hey, I'm Jason, faith-based entrepreneur and full-time digital nomad, still coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. Timestamps and sources below, along with a link to not our sponsor, but I will be sharing a super cool update where GPT essentially told us that we finally have an awesome tool that I am really excited to be sharing with you soon. So let's go ahead, jump in here. If you have a YouTube channel, this is important. Now, shout out to vidIQ for finding this, but essentially there is a scam going around trying to get access to your channel. So if you see an email that looks something like this, go ahead and ignore it. Apparently there's some people who've almost lost their channels. So if you get any sort of email asking you to accept some sort of policy or do a DocuSign, and especially any time an email asks you to download a .exe file, that's a pretty big red flag. As someone who's had random videos posted on my channel before, and still to this day, I don't know how they got in, this is pretty scary. So hopefully this stops a lot of people from having their channels maliciously taken away. Now, the next YouTube update is a weird one, and I'm going to call this a grift because YouTube is conducting affiliate marketing, offering get.channel domains, but it has nothing to do with YouTube. And scrolling through the comments here, most people are just curious as to what on earth this actually is. And so I went over to the website. Of course, they've got the Google logo up there, but essentially you type in a domain name and then it gives you a bunch of affiliate links to go register that domain name. So I'm going to put this in the category of grift, not necessarily because I'm against affiliate marketing. I do that all the time, and I encourage every one of you to do it. The problem is the context in which it's being done, because I think YouTube knows that a lot of people are not going to understand that this has nothing to do with YouTube at all. And so essentially what's going to happen is a bunch of people are going to pay like $200. So one of the comments said it was like $200 a month or something crazy like that. I don't know about $200 a month for a domain. There are a lot of people who are not going to understand that this has nothing to do with YouTube, and Google's going to collect a couple $100,000 in commissions, and a lot of creators are going to be disappointed. Now, the final YouTube update we have here is apparently you can now use this voice feature to reply to your comments via voice instead of typing. The only problem is it's only available on the iOS app for some reason. And I don't think most people want to have voice replies. It might just be my behavior, but I know when myself or even my wife and I are watching something, we will still listen to the video and then we'll scroll down and start reading the comments, which is sometimes the fun part of the experience. And so if you have the video playing and all of your replies are in voice, well, that kind of breaks what I think the YouTube experience is, but maybe that's just me. You can go ahead and comment below if you're like, yeah, this is awesome. I don't want to read comments. I just want to listen to the creator's reply. On the other hand, though, when I was doing Tag Manager and Google Ads videos every other week, this would have saved me so much time because I really got tired of typing the same thing over and over again. Now, next up, we have Fiverr, and Fiverr is out to help freelancers not fall behind in the AI arms race, even though they've technically lost already, but that's okay. That's just my opinion, but here we go. So Fiverr GO is essentially this new tool developed by Fiverr to help freelancers create their own custom GPTs, is the best way to put it. So Fiverr's developed this tool where a freelancer can essentially upload all of their work. They can do some prompt engineering, and then essentially someone can purchase that and use it. It's very unclear on how many generations you're allowed to use as a customer, how much these things are actually going to cost. But while I do think it's a good idea to try and get ahead of the inevitability of a lot of Fiverr gigs just being irrelevant, I think this is too little too late. And it's silly. So I don't think this is going to work very well because unless you are an absolute, complete beginner, have no idea how to use AI, you're better off just going and purchasing a library of prompts. And there are actually a lot of tools out there for 10 to 30 bucks a month. I know that sounds like a lot, but they have the unlimited libraries of people who are doing the exact same thing, and you're not paying per prompt. You're just paying a subscription or as a plugin. And so, and you can use those prompts with like any model that you want, right? So I think this is cool. They're trying to give their, essentially freelancers a way to leverage AI and improve their listings on Fiverr. But I do think this is too little too late. And I don't think people are willing to pay for a prompt they can only use a couple of times. Now, next up, we have some rapid fire updates. First, Instagram dropped some changes when it comes to how you can engage with DMs. They now have Translate built in. As a full-time traveler, that's going to save my wife a lot of time, not me. I don't do any of the planning, but I'm pretty sure that's going to help her. And then also scheduling, which I wish I could do with normal text messages, because I'm one of those people who will not reply for days because I keep waiting to reply when I have time to reply to the reply when I should just reply. Maybe that's just me. Sounds like a personal problem. And a QR code. And I did an episode a couple of months ago where I was actually in Thailand and I wound up using the QR code feature like literally 2 days after I said I thought it was useless. And of course, you can pin comments as well. Apologies for hitting the mic. Facebook is now also updating their live video policy. So if you have any live videos on Facebook, you need to go download them because they're going to disappear after 30 days of uploading. And finally, Facebook apparently is going to have their first ever Llama Con for their a development conference for their AI model. And after it's come out that they torrented a ton of books to train their AI, it'll be very interesting to see what that event is actually like. Now, before we get into Grok 3, which is really cool, has a lot of big updates. I even have some clips to go through from the live event. I wanted to share a follow-up to last episode where I was sharing this massive prompt I'd been working on in the background. And I'm happy to say it is finally done. So we are less than like a week and a half away of actually launching this thing. It's going to be called the Smart Content Kit. It will have this and some other prompts as well. And what you're looking at here is a prompt to essentially understand your voice. So we go through how to figure out your narrative, your emotion style, your tone, your lexicons, figuring out your basic personality so that AI writes like you instead of normal AI sludge. And actually last night, I finally finished this. I went over to GPT and unprompted, I quote, "This is by far one of the most advanced AI voice writing frameworks I've ever seen. The thought and strategy put into balancing control versus flexibility, structure, creativity, guidance, and human oversight is next level. You're 100% ready to roll this out," which means I better put together the sales page for you guys. And of course, I'm slowly scrolling through this. What's awesome about using Google Sheets for our prompt engineering now is it allows us to create all these drop-down menus and essentially fill in the blanks. And then in the background, we can format it in a way with instructions to AI, so you get this nice long prompt. And so anytime you want to have AI write like you, all you need to do is hop over to the tool, copy this at the top, and then paste it into AI, and you have your foundation for your voice. And so memory is a really big problem with AI right now, making sure that AI gets all the information it needs to be successful. So I think this is going to help all of us a lot when it comes to our custom writing. But I'll get more to that when we finally launch in a week or so. Now, Grok AI launched, and boy, is it powerful. So Grok.com is now live. If you have been paying for X Premium or X Premium Plus, you pretty much already have an account to both. So I just wanted to show this is the version inside of X. This is the version at Grok.com. It's pretty much the same thing. In the presentation, they did say that Grok.com is going to have features faster than the apps. I don't know if it's going to be faster than X, but we'll get to pricing in a moment before we go through all of the clips. Now, I just also wanted to show, this is the benchmarks that they shared during the presentation. Of course, their benchmarks are showing that they're outcompeting Gemini Pro 2, DeepSeek, and even GPT-4o. And something that's really crazy is they shared this graphic showing how they just started developing in 2023, and they've already surpassed, of course, according to them, GPT 4.0. And so if you've ever felt like you're behind on this whole AI thing, well, they literally caught up to GPT in a year. Not that we're all like Elon with, billions of dollars and can just put together a power plant and the largest GPU cooling system in the world in less than 90 days, which is apparently what they, or less than 125 days, which is apparently what they did. Needless to say, here's a case study in, as an entrepreneur or content creator, there's always where there is a will, there is a way. I really botched that delivery. So before we get into all of the cool features, let's just talk about price, because it's a lot. And I am not happy about this, but apparently it's going to be $40 a month. If you pay month to month, of course, they'll give you a discount, and it'll be $32 a year if you do the discount. So if you wanted to try it out, I just wanted to include that here before we get into everything. Apparently there's a way to use a code, Super Grok, to get 50% off. Of course, if you're already paying for some sort of X subscription, I'm not quite sure how that plays out. But for me, I got some sort of Christmas special when I was in Thailand, and apparently my bill is going to go up to almost $500 a year for this. But do keep in mind that this price should be compared to the $200 a month GPT price plan, not the $20 a month one. So it does look like double the price of GPT or the base version of Claude, but I would think, based upon what they've shown and what I'm about to show you, is the $40 price tag is worth it. But if they didn't force all this other X stuff on us that like 90% of us do not want, I think it could probably be closer to $30 a month. But we're stuck overpaying for it because we have to do all the AI X features as well. I'll leave a link to this X article below, where this user went through some pretty detailed breakdowns of what it tried, and what Grok was able to do and what it wasn't able to do. And so all in all, this particular tester found, and he's been doing this quite a while, that this is pretty close to the $200 a month O1 Pro version of GPT. So I think it's a pretty good deal at $40, and he's going to add it to his LMM council. I just think that's so funny. Now here's a little preview of Grok in action.
Exactly. This is the Grok interface, and we've typed in this text that you can see here: generate code for an animated 3D plot of a launch from Earth, landing on Mars, and then back to Earth at the next launch window. And we've now kicked off the query, and you can see Grok is thinking. So part of Grok's advanced reasoning capabilities are these thinking traces that you can see here. You can even go inside and actually read what Grok is thinking as it's going through the problem, as it's trying to solve it.
GPT doesn't really do that. 4.0 at least.
We should say, we are doing some obscuration of the thinking so that our model doesn't get totally copied instantly. So there's more to the thinking than...
Is there? Is there really? So then we'll go to the end here where they've actually finished the model calculation.
All right, so this was the little physics problem we had. We've collapsed the thoughts here, so they're hidden. And then we see Grok's answer below that. So it explains, it wrote a Python script here using matplotlib, then gives us all of the code. So let's take a quick look at the code. Seems like it's doing reasonable things here, not totally off the mark. Solve Kepler says here, so maybe it's solving Kepler's law numerically. There's really only one way to find out if this thing is working. I'd say let's give it a try. Let's run the code. All right, and we can see, Grok is animating two different planets, Earth and Mars here, and then the green ball is the vehicle that's transiting, the spacecraft that's transitioning between Earth and Mars. And you could see the journey from Earth to Mars, and looks like
200-word prompt.
Indeed, the astronauts returned safely, at the right moment in time.
That's cool.
Obviously this was just generated on the spot, so we can't tell you if that was actually a correct solution. So we're going to take a closer look. Maybe we're going to call some colleagues from SpaceX, ask them if this is legit.
It's pretty close.
I think that's also a key point with this, as powerful as these models are, right? Like if you were a rocket scientist, you would double, triple check everything. But even as normal users for us, Like there is still a massive opportunity for you to use AI to help your clients, customers, and audience. Because unless you already have the basic knowledge, like if you don't write code, there's no way for you to know if that's the right code, right? And I have that a lot when I work with spreadsheets. It'll come up with something and I'll be like, hey, you forgot that this is going to err out if this cell is blank. And it'll go, oh yeah, all right, well, let me add another conditional statement, right? So I think that as scary as all this stuff can seem sometimes, you have to remember that these tools are only as good as the person using them. Like you have to already have the knowledge whether or not it's giving you something that's not true. But this next part I think is really cool because it's going to allow us to actually start learning and creating our own models for ourselves. Models, I mean like workflows.
You can actually click the bottom left of this, right? And then in this case, you can actually scroll through, actually reading to the mind of Grok. Like what informations does the model actually think about are trustworthy, what are not? How does it actually cross-validate different information sources? So that makes the entire search experience and information retrieval process a lot more transparent for our users.
It really should save you a lot of time. So something that might take you half an hour or an hour of researching on the web or searching social media, you can just ask it to go do that and come back, and 10 minutes later, it's done an hour's worth of work for you. That's really what it comes down to.
Exactly.
And maybe better than you could have done it yourself.
Yeah. Think about you have infinite amount of interns working for you. Like you can just fire up all the tasks.
Now, I wanted to highlight this particular feature because it shows a big opportunity if you're looking for how do I monetize my knowledge in conjunction with AI. Because what you're seeing on the side with thoughts is essentially the process Grok came up with to complete the prompt. But what if you have a better process? Or what if your audience or customers don't know what process should be used and Grok or GPT just chooses a random one that's not necessarily the best? And so what you can do is start treating AI like a virtual assistant. And so as an example, again, with our signature voice framework, we have 8 clearly laid out steps that we want to go through in order to define what our brand voice looks like, right? And of course, it could be adjusted for other people as well. But when you work with AI to create a process and then you set that in stone, that's how you ensure that you start getting consistent results. Because if you just every time ask it, hey, write me a post, hey, do research on this, hey, figure out XYZ, it's going to do it different every single time. And so one of the big advantages here is a lot of people don't take the time to essentially write out their own process or their own thoughts. And I think that's the next level of prompt engineering we're going to see, not just what you type at the beginning, but also laying out how you want AI to go through something so your results are consistent. And it makes it a lot easier to, of course, turn that into a digital product to sell, because your audience members or your clients or customers, they don't know your process. They don't have your same knowledge. And so if you make sure that you create a prompt that also has how to go about doing things, they're going to get much better results using your prompts than just trying it on their own. Now, the only other clip I wanted to play for you was from the Q&A.
Yep. So any plans for conversation memory?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're working on it right now. So.
Look at that nervous.
That's right.
I just think that's so funny. So conversation memory is probably an episode in and of itself, but that's one of the main issues is like, imagine having the fastest, GPU in the world. You have like the M4 Ultra, right? But then you only have like 1 gigabyte of RAM. So it can only do one thing at a time. And then it doesn't remember anything either. So that's part of what I think the main limitation of AI is right now. And also why I spend so much time making context prompts, because I have to constantly remind AI, this is my customer, this is what I'm doing, this is why I want you to do it. And you're just kind of copying and pasting the same base information over and over again. And AI is really going to start outshining actual human work when it can finally remember contextual conversation. I know the developers are going to go, yeah, well, you can already do that with the API and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Not everyone wants to use the API or spend hours fine-tuning. You just want to open up the prompt window and have it remember your stuff. So I think that's one of the areas that Grok is going to continue to be weaker in, because GPT does actually allow you to upload files to a folder, and then all your chats within that folder can refer to those files, which saves a heck of a lot of time. So that does it for today's episode. Thank you for sticking around. It was a little longer than usual. I spent a lot of time trying to cut up this this presentation, so we just looked at the stuff that really mattered. Of course, I do encourage you to go and check out the whole thing. It is also interesting to see that we're moving towards a world where it's just four guys around a laptop talking about what they've been working on the past couple of weeks, as opposed to so many other tech companies that have tried to copy Apple with these like big extravagant events. And so I kind of like this because I feel like we're seeing the actual people who are building stuff as opposed to the polished PR people for the company. But anyway, hit that like button, subscribe for more just like this. And until the next, keep building the business you love.